Now, I have discovered over time that this is apparently very impressive to many people. Many people I have had exposure since then have been trying to give me the idea or the impression that this is very impressive, that since they have come to know who the Lord is, that the Lord has put His law in their minds when it wasn't anywhere near being there before. And this might be very impressive for a Gentile, because a Gentile in general will not have exposure to the law of God in general. If they have not really known about the Scriptures or known about the things of the Lord, then they would not have had much exposure to this. And so perhaps to them it might be quite impressive for you to say, well, the law of God was never in my mind before, and now it is, because the Lord has found some way to infuse it within my mind. Well, that might be impressive for them, but it certainly is not impressive to me, because I already knew the law. It was already a part of my mind. Now, could it perhaps be that He is now going to bring it to my remembrance? Well, I could certainly memorize the law, and that certainly would be just as good. And so I didn't quite understand the depth of what this meant. All I knew was that, as far as I could tell, I still needed to try to live in accordance with the expectations that He had already given. It says also that He was going to write it on my heart. Well, again, does that mean that He's going to get out a chisel and start chiseling away at my heart of stone? Or perhaps He's going to get out the tattoo machine. He's going to tattoo His law to my heart now. Is that what this is referring to? Was it not already within my heart in the sense of deepest sincerity? By all means, I was very sincere, and I could tell you many stories about the persecutions that I endured, about the struggles that I endured, about the incredible rejection that I experienced repeatedly in varieties of circumstances just because of my determination to do one thing, and that was to please my God. There is no way that I can think of that you're going to be able to convince me that I did not give it my best effort within my very heart, that within the very depths of my being, at a certain point in my life, I most certainly wanted to truly obey, to truly be obedient, to live in accordance with what it was that He said, and to live in accordance with the expectations, and to really be righteous and holy as He told me that I should be. And there certainly is a tremendous amount of pride that can be expressed within and through that. And there's also certainly a tremendous amount of pride by those who are still wanting to suggest that they can now live in obedience to such a law. Because the law is very specific in its requirements, and for us to suggest, for me to suggest, or even for you to suggest, that you are going to be able to live in accordance with the law adequately to meet the standards that the Lord has given is a tremendous expression of pride, and to declare your life of complete and absolute vanity, because you will never do all that the Lord has said. Hear the law and the demands of the law. It says in Leviticus chapter 19, verse 17, "You shall not hate your brother in your heart." How are you doing with that one? Do you feel like you have great confidence that you're living in obedience to that particular law? If so, then maybe we should try the one after that in verse 18. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18. "Do not bear a grudge against anyone." How are you doing with that? Are you bearing grudges against anyone? Have you found a way of being set free from bearing grudges against people? And do you sincerely think that because the law says do not bear a grudge, because the law says do not secretly, quietly, unobserved, unknowingly hate someone in your heart, do you think that because you know that because that has been put into your mind, that out of deepest sincerity in the very basis of your being, that you really sincerely believe that this is the way you should live, this is the way you should behave, that this is the way that you should actually function? Is it really helping? Do you perhaps believe sincerely that because the living God is now living within you, because He is now in your heart, that He has somehow empowered you to now respond to the law as it is brought to your mind, to not hate someone in your heart, to not bear a grudge against anyone? Is that really working for you? And I really believe that if you were to be honest, as I was honest, that you would confess that in truth you are still bearing grudges. You still have minor moments, however remote they may be, of hatred towards someone else, that you are not really loving other people as yourself on occasion. And even if you were to live your whole life, and only break one of these laws one time, it still would be totally unimpressive. It still would have absolutely no meaning whatsoever. because you must never forget that none of these laws deal with the issue at hand. None of this addresses the real issue between you and God. The issue between you and God is not to figure out how to get you to obey or how to get you to behave, but the issue is that you don't know who He is. You do not have His life indwelling you, and you do not have a personal relationship with Him. That is the very issue, and that is the very issue that He is wanting to address. The promise of the law, the blessings of the law, all of the benefits of the law are clearly explained in the law, and they all say the same thing. You will be blessed in your flesh. That is what the law promises. That is what the law is going to deliver, if you manage to obey. And if you do not, then you will experience what is to happen afterwards, which is the curses. And these are all well described in Deuteronomy chapter 28, and none of them have anything to do with the Spirit. None of them have anything to do with how it would be that you would get to know the love of God, how it would be that you would get to understand the love of God. In order for this to take place, in order for this to happen, there would have to be a completely different covenant established, a kind of covenant that would be so different that it would not address anything to do with the flesh, but would specifically address the issues of the Spirit. And Jeremiah prophesied this in chapter 31, beginning in verse 31. When he said, "Behold, the days are coming, says the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, my covenant which they broke, though I was a husband to them." Do you see what is being said here? It is very clear, it is very obvious that the covenant that He is going to establish, there is going to be a new covenant to be established, and it is not going to be like the old one. It is not going to be like that, and the old one is clearly defined, and so whatever is presented as the new covenant, if it looks anything like the old covenant, it is not the new covenant. That is clearly explained here, and I had no idea what that meant. I honestly believe that this was some kind of renewed old covenant, or it was a new way to accomplish what the old covenant was promising. And yet, as I began to be honest, truly honest in my own heart, I realized that this was not any different, that the life that I was living was not any different at all than the life that I was living in true and sincere enthusiasm and determination of a life of Pharisaism. I really wanted to be God's guy, and I knew the law, and I was going to live in obedience to it, and I was going to give it every effort that I possibly could in the remote part of my being in any way whatsoever. I was going to be it. I was going to do it. And I assumed that with the Messiah indwelling me, that He was going to then help me to do it, but there still was no change whatsoever. Not truly. And in my greatest honesty, I was able to finally sit down and say to the Lord, "Lord, I cannot do it. I will never do it. There is no way to do it." And He finally revealed to me in the very core of my heart, He said, that is the point. That is the issue, that you cannot do it. You cannot live in accordance with what it is that would be required in order to say that you are righteous, that you are holy, that you can be my guy, that you can be the kind of person that I want you to be. That was the whole issue. So that I could eventually be set free from that, and He could show me the issue is not to have your eyes on yourself, which is what this law will force you into doing. It will force you into being so consumed with yourself that you will never even remotely have an opportunity to know who I am. That was what the Lord shared with me. And He shared this with me in the midst of Him changing who I was. And the way that He changed who I was not by trying to inspire me to obey, was not trying to inspire me to live a life that could not be lived, because there was something wrong with me. It was not to say that there was something wrong with Him or something wrong with the law. It was given in order to show me that I needed His mercy and that I would have no hope outside of Him. And He was beginning to show me how it was that He was actually changing my heart. and changing my mind. And it was because of the deepest needs that I had, not the deepest need to obey, but the deepest need to be loved, the deepest need to be accepted, the deepest need to have some sense of meaning and purpose in my life as I would be an active participant in what it is that He is doing, not what I am doing, to be consumed and be involved in what He is doing here on this earth. That was what He was beginning to show me, and that was what He was beginning to reveal to me, and there was only one way that He was able to begin to show me what this meant. And that was when He revealed to me that He had forgiven me of all of my sins, and that the sin issue between myself and God was no longer an issue. And I was not trying to live in obedience to the law because I was trying to avoid sin. I was trying to live in obedience to the law because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. But when He showed me that the sin issue between myself and Him did actually come to an end, I realized that I had been completely set free, although this was a gradual experience of realizing the freedom that I truly had, completely set free from anything, and so that I could do anything that I wanted to. But this was not an opportunity for me to go out and indulge the flesh. And while you may perhaps be tempted to go out and indulge the flesh if you find that you have found freedom in that regard, I did not. And I believe that many people struggle with this, and that I specifically believe that this really is just dependent on an individual's pride, where they are in their heart and where they are in their lives, as to how it is or how it would be that they would respond to the total and absolute freedom that the Lord has really made available through the perfect love that He has provided for us. Some people would respond by saying that I now have the complete freedom to go out and sin like the devil, and so I'm going to go do so. And you might just very well do that. Maybe that's really where your pride is actually at. But mine was very different. Mine was motivated strictly by wanting to truly experience the love that the Lord had for me. And the freedom that I had was then the freedom to no longer be preoccupied with myself and what it is that I am doing, but to now go out and share the love that the Lord has already given me, and so that you could also come to know what that is, and so you could experience the fulfillment in your heart and in your mind that He wants to provide for you with the personal, engaging relationship that He truly wants to have with you personally. And in that way, He will change your mind. He will change your heart. And then He will be your God, and you will be one of His people. And as He is able to begin to relate to you in this very personal way, regardless of what you are doing, regardless of what you are not doing, then you will be able to know who He is. You will begin to understand the things that He really wants to truly reveal to you, because you will have your attention on Him and not on yourself. And that is what he's referring to in the New Covenant, is that the New Covenant presents the opportunity for Him to change your mind, to change your heart, so that He will be able to eventually and effectively conform you into His image as you are preoccupied with His love and acceptance and meaning and purpose, and not with your own pursuits. That is the New Covenant, and that is the beginning of the new life that He has been able to make available to us. And this is something that I strongly encourage you to pursue, and to pursue the knowledge of and the understanding of. And I will continue to reveal more about the depths of what this really means and the implications of what this means in the next broadcast.
You have been listening to the broadcast outreach of Living God Ministries with Aaron Budjen. This broadcast is possible because of the prayers and contributions of our listeners. To obtain a copy of today's broadcast, send $5 plus $2 for packaging and postage to Living God Ministries, P.O. Box 38353, Colorado Springs, Colorado 80937, or call 303-359-2550. That is 303-359-2550. Or look us up on the internet at www.livinggodministries.net. That's livinggodministries.net.